Welcome to the very first episode of the Wine Podcast for Everyone. Each episode, we will share 2 wines we think you should know about and tackle a question about wine. I'm Sean, and I'm a certified sommelier who loves comfort food and big, bold New World wines.
Hi, I'm Chuck. I'm not a sommelier, just a longtime fan of old world wines and Italian food. To learn more about us and see all of our reviews, go to nosnobwine.com, where all wines reviewed cost less than $20 a bottle.
On today's episode, we share a white blend from Portugal and a red blend from Spain that are both amazing deals and both cost less than $10. Then we tackle a version of the question we get asked the most. The liquor store is overwhelming. How do I find new and different wines? Chuck, I'm always on the lookout for a good pizza wine, and I understand you've got something for us today.
The Toro Bravo Tempranillo Merlot fits the bill. A weekday pizza wine, this one costs about $8.30. Can't really go wrong. You get raspberry, you get some oak, you get some plum. I would serve it to people who even aren't typically big fans of wine, just because it's not too sharp, it's not oaky, it's not too tannic. Basically like you would expect your average, nice, well-rounded table red wine to taste.
Yeah, I had a chance to try it, and it's definitely been a little bit of extra effort by the winemaker on this, especially for a wine that costs less than $10. You don't get this sort of level of, I don't know if I want to call it sophistication, but layers, if that makes sense. The layering of the licorice and the raspberry and the oak, really well done.
The layers make sense. When you drink it, you don't just seem like, oh, it's all plum or it's vanilla or it's oaky. You actually get a pretty well balanced wine. This is definitely a value bottle. However, if you ask me to guess the price, I would say it's probably around the $12 to $14 range. But actually, it surprised me. It came in at $8.30, which makes it a great weekday pizza wine.
Particular wine was featured in a national newspaper, and I was in the liquor store at that time, and I heard, I think, 3 different people asked for it by name because it was featured. We thought we'd review it for everybody who gets their news not from a paper. We both had this, really enjoyed it. It's old world style, more of Chuck's favorite styles, but I really enjoyed it. I would buy it again, and I would serve it to friends and family.
I think I would keep a couple of bottles of these around the house. If you're feeling like a red on a weekday, or it's the second bottle that you're taking out on a Saturday night, it fits the bill.
Yeah, we both highly recommend you try this wine.
Toro Bravo Tempranillo Merlot from Spain, coming in at $8.30. 5 stars. Full review on nosnobwine.com.
So Chuck, let's tackle our question that we get asked the most, which is navigating the liquor store and finding new wines. Everybody we seem to speak to has their favorite bottle, their go-to. And when we kind of ask them about that, the story's always kind of similar, is they get into the liquor store and there's literally thousands of bottles of wine. You know what? I'm going to go for what I know, but I really want to find a new wine. What do you think about when you go into a liquor store? How do you approach it?
Go for something that's similar to what you're already drinking, so it's not too different for you. Mm. So if you're typically drinking a Shiraz, let's say, you might want to go for...
like try one from another country.
Yeah, try the same wine from a different country, or one that's a new world versus an old world.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's kind of key, because when earlier in the episode, Chuck pointed out that he likes old world wine, and I said that I like new world. The new world being big and bold, so there's a lot of fruit in them. And the old world that Chuck likes are a little more refined and restrained, and you'll get more earthy notes with the fruit not being so bold. Would you agree with that, Chuck?
I'd say that's true. Yeah. It's all one world. So what countries are making your new world wines, and which ones typically are making the old world wine?
And I think that's the key to cracking this question. At least the first bit of advice we should give our listeners. So if you like what I said about old world, then you're going to want to stick with France, Italy, and Spain. Now there's other places, but those are 3 that definitely going to go pick some bottles out of. You're probably going to have a good experience. And then if you like the bold fruit forward wine, so lots of plum and cherry and raspberry, you're going to go with more of the new world. And for now, stick with USA, Australia, and Canada. As you listen, you'll hear us talk about more countries, but on your journey to find a new wine, just keep it to those countries for now.
I think that's good advice.
Chuck, does the label ever straight up influence your purchasing decision?
The label will definitely attribute to a hard no real fast a lot of the time, I would say. It's never a hard sell on the label, like, yes, I love the label, it's going to be delicious. But if I see some kind of cartoon drawing or something that's targeted not to me, it's a quick no. I also don't like celebrity wines. Maybe we'll get into this later, but
Yeah.
I'm not looking for Snoop Dogg's face on my bottle of wine. I don't think he knows a lot about wine.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I've learned to be label blind in the wine store. Usually when I'm going in, I'm either after something really specific or I'm buying something that's for the nosnobwine.com site to be reviewed. So I'm sort of looking for the price that I want to review that day, depending if it's like under 10 or closer to 20.
You can also go in thinking, oh, Saturday night is pizza night. I need a wine. That goes great with pizza.
Oh, yeah. I do that a lot. That's a good point because I like to cook. If I'm putting a little bit extra effort in or making something special, yeah, I'll be on a mission to get a wine for that meal. So where we're from and where I've mostly seen is wine stores that are set up by country. So typically you'll see Australia, France, Italy, Spain, etc. on their own. Though last time I was in California, I was at one of the big wine retailers and they had it set up by grape. So we had all the Cab Sauv, Cabernet Sauvignon over here, all the Zinfandels over there, all the Chardonnays over here. I guess that makes sense to a degree because I guess most people know what they like, the basics of what they like, to say. Like they know they like Chardonnay. But what would you do if you were confronted with a wall of Chardonnay?
Yeah, in that case, you have to divvy it up somehow. And in that case, I think I would go back to the old world, new world style of, I don't know if I love the division by varietal or grape style, which is varietal, just because you would think not everyone knows that Chianti is Sangiovese. Are you putting Chiantis in the Sangiovese?
That's a really good point. And that happens a lot. Primitivo and Zinfandel, same thing. It just goes by its Italian name. And if you have a white blend, like the white blend we talk about in today's episode from Portugal, where does it go? They don't identify the grapes on the label.
No, it's top secret in this wine for sure.
Yeah, so I think the advice of sticking with the countries, depending on the style of wine that you like, would be your first thing. Chuck's advice to find the same kind of wine you like, but from a different country is great advice.
You still have your price points that you want to stick between.
Price.
So everyone has their personal choice.
Yeah.
We prefer under 20, obviously.
Well, there's plenty of good wine to be had for less than $20.
Lots. No shortage. You may have to look a little.
One of the things, and it depends on the store you're in, but for the most part, if they're selling wine, somebody is knowledgeable. I don't know if they'll have experts, whatever that means. I encourage people to ask. And one of the things you'll notice with people who work in wine stores is they are more than happy to talk about wine. And, ask them for some advice is not an imposition. It's quite welcomed. And one of the things I overhear a lot in the liquor store is the person working there will typically ask what their budget is. And then you'll hear the person kind of hesitate, the person who's asking the question, because their budget's probably, 10, 15.
Under 20 bucks.
Yeah, exactly. It's under 20 bucks.
Nothing wrong with that.
And they know, but you can see like they look like they've been put on the spot. They're going to give a wrong answer because they're talking to a wine person. And if they don't say like 30 bucks, they're going to get some side eye from the employee. But I think we can assure everybody that's not what the employee is thinking. So I'd be
not the case.
Yeah, I'd be really honest about your budget.
One thing that wine people like doing almost more than drinking wine is talking about wine. So it's never an imposition asking a wine guy a wine question.
Amen, brother. That is so true. I mean, that's why we created this podcast and why we created the website, is because sometimes you just want to get to the point. So another tip for getting around the wine store, and this one's going to sound snobby, but we're not snobby, because of course, no snob wine. There's vintage wine and non-vintage wine. All that means is whether you see a year on the label. So if it is vintage wine, it'll say 2012, 2020, 2021, whatever. And if it's non-vintage, you won't be able to find a year on the label. Now, before we get everybody mad and you start writing letters, this is not a hard and fast rule, because champagne is non-vintage most of the time. So, and champagne's considered to be quite good.
Very fancy.
Very fancy.
And expensive.
And expensive, yes. The reason I say stay away from the non-vintage, if you're looking for new wine, there's nothing wrong with non-vintage wine. Non-vintage wine usually is mass-produced blended grapes from, could be different countries. It's just grape juice bought as a commodity and made into wine. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're really looking to try and find something different, start to look at the wines that have years on them. Because at that point, the winery is trying to make something specific at that time that the grape was picked and the wine was produced. So that will give you a bit more variety. Chuck, if you were going to introduce somebody to the Italian wine, what would you recommend they start with? They've never gone down the Italian aisle at the liquor store. You're going to send them down on a mission. Where would you steer them?
Each of us on the website has a top picks page, and one of my top picks is a wine called Fantini Sangiovese. It's a great benchmark Italian table wine. It'll help you decide if you like the style or if you don't. This bottle is under $9. It goes with virtually any Italian food that you can find. It's readily available. It's a great choice. I think it's a crowd pleaser. Anyone I've introduced it to, it's become one of their house reds.
I think that's easily one of the most popular wines on the website for years.
It gets a lot of traffic. They have a large format bottle. I'm not saying that I convinced them to make the large format bottle, but if you want 1.5 liters of it, they do have it.
Get a Magnum.
Yeah, why not?
The Magnum, by the way, is just the name of the bottle of a 1.5 liter bottle. It's just 2 bottles in one. Let's move on to our second featured wine. Today, I'm going to feature a white blend from Portugal that's aptly named White Blend Portugal. Not too creative on the name. Right away, you can smell peach and lemon. Tasted it. Totally blown away. It was amazing. One of the things I like to do, little, me time, is Sunday afternoon, go down to the TV room, put on the Netflix, pour myself a glass of wine. This is now my go-to wine for that. This $8.80 wine blew me away. Now, Chuck, you've had a chance to try this one. What were your thoughts?
On your recommendation, I went out and picked up this bottle as well. I found it's really well balanced, crisp acidity, tart finish. It's a great sipper if you're just not eating anything. It goes with appetizers. It's a great value. At the price, $8.80, you don't have to worry about cracking it open on a weekday, just yourself or a company.
I've served it to company. Sometimes with the really light body wines like this one, you don't get that much fruit and flavor. It can be a bit thin, but this is a surprise. This guy packs a punch.
It really is one of those crowd pleasers, I would say.
Yeah, I've recommended it, bought it, served it to guests. It was great.
I would buy it again. Out of 5, what would you give this one?
This is a 5 out of 5. Not only is it great wine, it's a great price. Check it out next time you're at the wine store. It's called White Blend Portugal. The year's 2020. $8.80, 5 stars.
Full review from both of us on the website. It's actually one of Sean's top picks.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
I think it'd be hilarious at the end of the first episode, just some quick bloopers. That'd be funny. It's probably a lot of editing work.
Okay. I would buy this. Even, it's not.
You're the editor, so then don't worry about me. I was like, that's work for you. Have you ever had the wine shop employees carry out the wine to your car for you, even though you're perfectly able of doing it yourself?
I have not intentionally, but sometimes I buy so much that it takes a couple of people to get it to the car.
Okay, that's a different answer. Also applicable. Sir, you've had too much. You can take the bread and the cheese and the berries, but you're going to have to leave this bottle of wine behind.
And she said it happens all the time at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, the breakfast club.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can try a wrap.
Is it the best wine on our site? Hell no. The point is, for under $9,
way to sell it.
It's a steal.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Wine Podcast for Everyone. Be sure to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts, as it helps other people find us.
Yeah, tell your friends about the podcast. We know they drink wine too.
For more information on any of the wines we discussed, go to nosnobwine.com or check the show notes for links. The Wine Podcast for Everyone is a production of No Snob Media.